You Behaalotecha, that's not the book of Shmuel.
Oh.
We are in Parshas Behaalotecha, and Parshas Behaalotecha is the third Parsha in the book of Bamidbar, which begins obviously with the mitzvah of kindling the menorah, Behaalotecha is Haneros, and then it has a very, very special mitzvah. That this mitzvah is a mitzvah which has to do as a response to the people. And it's interesting because there is something very unique in this mitzvah that we do not find in similar situations. Basically, there are 4 times in the Torah that Moshe is being asked how to deal with a certain situation, and his response is, in Russian probably, Yani Znaya. Yani Znaya means in Yiddish exactly what you just said. Ich weiß nicht. I don't know. I don't know. The first story, I'm sure you remember, was back in Parshas Vayikra, in Parshas Emor. At that time, there was an individual who is known as the blasphemer.
Yes.
The what?
Blasphemer.
Blasphemer. The Mekalik. That was in the end of Parshas Vayikra, in the end of Parshas Emor, when there was a man, but the Torah describes that his mother was Jewish and the father was an Egyptian, and he was fighting with somebody, and it says in the Torah, Vayikoiv ben Oisho Israeli says Hashem Vayekalim. This Jewish boy with a Gentile father pronounced the name of God and blasphemed it. And for that, Vayanichu b'mishmar, they placed them under guard. They put them in jail. Jail in Judaism is not a punishment. Jail is a waiting room until we're going to figure out what the punishment is going to be, which is a whole interesting topic for itself, why Judaism doesn't believe in jail as a punishment. The old days jail, just in short, the old days jail meant that you are placed in a pit, in a cell, and you are meant to do nothing. Not like today you come out with a whole profession, with a PhD in crime and in other things. You go in as a thief and you walk out a murderer, which is a part of that issue. Jail is not a place which has any productivity for the person who is imprisoned, and that's why our sages tell us Judaism does not believe a person should ever be in such a state. Either we lash you, either we atone your sin by separating the soul of the body, or if you go to the cities of refuge is a place of atonement. You have teachers, you learn, but just to sit and do nothing is not a punishment. It's unacceptable. But they put them there, so the verse says why they put them. So it says, Lifrei Shlohem, they put them under guard, which is in prison, to clarify for themselves through Hashem what to do with them. They just did not know what punishment should be given to somebody who violated such a crime. This was in chapter 24, verse 12, in the book of Leviticus, Vayikra. Eventually, God told Moshe, you should take the blasphemer, remove him of outside of the camp, ושמחו כל השם ממס ידיהם על ראשוי, ורוגמו אויסוי כל העדה. And all the Israelites, especially those who heard the blasphemy, they should assemble around him and they should stone him. But what did Moshe say? They brought Moshe, didn't know. what to do. And because he didn't know what to do, he was placed in prison as a waiting room until we're going to determine what the punishment is. There was another case in next week's Parsha, also a situation which Moshe did not know what to do. If you turn to page 816 in the Chumashim, if you have a regular Chumash on chapter 15, verse 32 in the book of Numbers, Bamidbar, next week's Parsha Shlach, says the Torah story with a wood chopper on Shabbos. Says the verse 32, Vayu bnei Yisrael Bamidbar, the children of Israel were in the wilderness, in the desert. Vayimtzeu ish mekoishesh eitzim b'yom Shabbos, and they found a man who is gathering wood in the Shabbos day. What does gathering wood mean? So gathering wood has to do with a collection of wood which is forbidden on Shabbos. It's called me'amer. It's gathering and collecting and organizing it in a perfect fashion, which is one of the activities of work. No, the guy is desecrating Shabbos. What do? Says the next verse. Vayakrivu oisoi, amoitzi moisoi, el Moshe v'Aaron mikol. Those who found them, gathering wood, brought them to Moses and Aaron and to the entire assembly. What did they do with them? So they placed them in custody. Why? Because they did not know what should we do with them. They knew that somebody who is desecrating Shabbos deserves a punishment. And they even know that it says earlier in the Torah that to desecrate Shabbos should be put to death. But there's all types of capital punishment. What type of death? Am I throwing them down a cliff? Am I taking a sword and am I hanging them? Am I decapitating? Is that, what am I doing with them? So when you don't know, you don't know. So what do? They asked Moshe and said, okay, let's put him to jail. And then, Vayomer Hashem el Moshe, Hashem says to Moshe, Moshe Yimasoish, the man should be put to death. How? Rogoi Moshe ba'avonim, kolo edo mechutz lamachat. The entire assembly should put them, we shall pelt them with stones outside the camp. Stoning. Okay, so now we know. And they did it. Third story. Just a couple weeks later. This is still in the early years in the desert, and they are being taught the laws of how they are going to split the land, right? Who is going to get what? This is how on page 884 begins. This year the land should be inheritance. Those who have a bigger tribe, a lesser tribe, dividing it between the tribes. What happens next on chapter 27 in the book of Bamidbar? There is a bunch of girls. Fatikravno, ben Slofchot, ben Hefer, ben Golit, ben Mochir, ben Gilad, ben Mochir, ben Menashe, Lemishpachos Menashe ben Yosef, chapter 27 in this part in the book of Bamidbar, page 886. And we have even the names of these girls: Machlo, Noov, Choglo, Milko, Tirza. This is granddaughters of Menashe, the son of Yosef. But Moshe, standing before Moshe, before Elazar, who was the Kohen, Aaron already passed away, and before the Nesim, the leaders of the tribe, in front of the entire assembly, what do they say? Our father died. He wasn't in the instigators of Korach. He died because of the original sin of the Meraglim, I guess. And they say, we are a family with no brothers. And if we're not going to get the inheritance, the whole chain legacy of our father is going to be lost. Why should we miss out? They say, Loma Igora. Why should the name of our father be omitted from among his family because he has no sons? It's not right. Nulanu achuza. They asked, give us a portion in the world to in Eretz Israel. What does the verse say? What did Moshe say? Vayakriv Moshe es mishpato lifnei Hashem. And Moses brought their claim before God. I don't know. I'm not going to make up any laws. You have a good question. Maybe God is going to say, no boys, no inheritance. Maybe he's going to say, the daughter should get it. I have no idea. I was not taught. I'm going to speak to Hashem. And that's what he did. And Hashem returned with a whole list of laws, how the distribution of inheritance is to be divided. First to the son, then to the daughter, and then to the son-in-law, whatever, and all this. So there's 3 times that Moshe is being asked something. Clearly, is not rushing to find an answer. He's placed in prison, the first 2 cases. The 3rd case, the only Torah tells us is, he doesn't tell them, I have an answer for you tomorrow. He said, I'm delivering the question to God. Wait and see. It can take a day. It can take 10 days. It can take a year. I don't know, but is God going to respond? Go home. We'll figure it out. Then comes this week's party. And here we are into a surprise. What happens in this week's Parsha? The Torah begins on chapter 9, page 778 in your Blue Chumoshim. What happens is that the Jewish people are getting ready to celebrate their first Passover in the desert. This is the year and the first year anniversary from the time they left Egypt. And the Torah tells us in chapter 9 how beautifully they all got together. The 2nd year and the 1st month, it was the 14th day of the month in the evening, and God tells Moses, make sure they do it. Moshe tells the Jewish people to do it, and the Jewish people are doing it. Very good. What happens on verse 6? Vayehi, Vayehi. There was. What was? A story. Vayehi is usually a story. What's the Vayehi? There was Anoshim asher yutmein lenefesh adam velo yochlu lasas haPesach bayoyim hahu. Right? Read it together on verse 6. There were a group of people who were contaminated, and the contamination, the impurity was attracted by being occupied with the corpse. Whose corpse it was? So Rashi says they were carrying the casket of Joseph. Or a second opinion, they were the ones who took out the dead bodies of Nadav and Abihu from the Holy of Holies outside. So they are basically contaminated, and they couldn't do the first Pesach. What? They couldn't do it. So here too, you can do something. What do? You approach Moshe and Aaron on that day. So those men said to him, to Moshe, we are contaminated through a human corpse. Lama nigora levilti akrives korban Hashem bemoyadoi betoich bnei Yisrael. Why should we be diminished by not offering Hashem's offering in its appointed time among the children of Israel? We want to do Pesach. Yachachu Pesach. We want to do Pesach like everybody else. We don't want to be missing out. What does Moshe say? I don't know, right? No. More than just I don't know. What does it tell them? Imdu, stand. Be'eshmeo, I will hear. Ma yetzave Hashem lochem. That which Hashem will command you. You get a call, and you say, I'm going to call you back. Or you tell them, wait on the line. I'm going to get you the information. There's always a sense of urgency when you tell someone, don't get off the line. Imdu. What is imdu? Stand. Stand here. Don't go. I'm going to hear what Hashem has to say. And Rashi tells us, Moshe is so sure that Hashem is going to tell him. Maybe Hashem is going to say, I'm busy, I don't want to talk to you now. Says Rashi, no. Moshe knew his relationship with Hashem, and he knows that when he presses the button, he needs to speak to the boss is going to answer, and therefore it tells the people, wait, don't go, imdu, I'm going to hear. What's the question? What's the question that begs understanding? Manishtan. So why is it Babnoi Slavchad, but Slavchad's daughter, it doesn't tell him stand. It says Moshe brought the question before. What happened to the girls? They went home. Maybe they didn't go home. Maybe the answer came, who knows when? Doesn't say. By the blasphemer, by the wood chopper, by the desecrator of Shabbos, it doesn't say that Moshe went and he told them, wait, I'm going to hear the message. He said, put him in prison for now. We'll find out. Comes here, Pesach Sheni. He says, wait on the line. Imdu, stand still. I'm going to hear. What happened?
Pesach was about to come. They didn't have time to wait.
What?
Pesach was about to come. You have to know what was about to go.
So
he didn't have to.
And
what if Pesach come and didn't get an answer? Maybe
that's for Moshe to figure out. What happens if God is not going to answer it?
I don't know. Moses probably knew that God would answer it.
But when?
First of all, that Pesach, they couldn't do it. It wasn't that Pesach is about to come. The story is that they did Pesach, and only after they did Pesach, the people came and said, we also wanted to be a part of it.
Oh, after that.
That's what it seems in the order of the verses. It says God told them to do Pesach. They did Pesach. And then there were people who came and complained, we want to do it. And the commentators are actually wondering, what does it mean we want to do it at this appointed time, together with the Jewish people? What kind of questions that there's no appointed time, it's over.
If you're going to have a second Pesach for them, you don't want it to happen 9 months later.
You don't know if there's a second Pesach. In other words,
They could have told
the
him,
girls also want to know what's going to happen to their share to come.
they could have told him you just missed out, wait till next
I
year.
think there's not
Good.
the immediacy of celebrating. Both of those occasions happened. It wasn't their fault. They had nothing. They had no active act that was in defiance of God. It was something that was outside of their control. So
All those four things, all those four cases are cases which Moshe is in doubt. He has no idea what to do. He needs counseling. He needs a decision made by the boss. He's not going to make up his own trail. So for that, in every situation, when there's a question, he says, let me go over and ask. No, this guy has been put in prison until God is going to tell us. The other girls, I'm bringing the case to the boss. No one does. They say the word imdu, stand. The Rebbe says a very simple answer. Simple, but very, very original. The Rebbe says like this. The daughters of Tzlafchad wanted what? Inheritance, a share in the land to come. At that time, it was very clear that when are they entering the land? 40 years from now. After the story of the spies already.
Another 14
there was
years.
no need.
There is no urgency. 40 years, we'll see.
14 before it's divided.
I'm going to give it to the God. Meantime, you go back to your homes, go back to your tents. We have a long time till we get into Israel. I'm going to figure out, I'm going to find out for you, but I can't tell you, and I'm not going to tell you stand right here because it's not important. Fine, we understand that. The Rebbe continues. The blasphemer and the Shabbat desecrator, what was the need now?
It could spread that kind of action.
No, but what it's true, but what was the need? The need was to figure out what capital punishment they are about to receive. Says the Rebbe, Moshe, we already know Moshe from the golden calf. The last thing that Moshe is rushing is to punish a Jew. Even by the golden calf, he says, God, if you touch them, get me out of your book. I don't have anything to do with you. They were sinners. So for Moshe, says the Rebbe, I'm not rushing. I'm going to put him in prison. Wait for an answer. If God finds the answer, let him find me. I'm not running after God. Let God run after me. Or whenever he makes this decision. Meantime, those two poor Jews are alive. Maybe they have a chance to do some more good deeds in their short life until they're going to get whatever punishment. But for Moshe to go and rush God and say, I need an answer now, there's no urgency. There's no urgency to take away the life of another person, of another Jew. Not doing it. So he said, let him wait. Could be the answer came next day, could be the answer came 3 days after, doesn't matter. Moshe is not going to be the one pursuing the answer. That's not in his interest. What happened by the story of our Parsha, they want to do Pesach. And they want to do Pesach, and they say, why should we miss? The Moshe sees that Jew wants to do something of value, something with quality. He's not going to postpone them, come back tomorrow. You see the urgency on his face. He wants to be part of a celebration that is unfortunately not. Especially the reason they were not part of it is not because they were negligent. They were occupied with doing mitzvahs. They were either carrying Yosef's casket, or they were busy with carrying out the Nadav and Abihu from the Holy of Holies. They were serving what we call Chevra Kadisha. They were the Jewish burial society. That's what they were doing. And they sit there with all passionate quest. Let me be part of it. I don't want to be, standing outside missing this opportunity of Pesach. So when Moshe sees that, what does he say? Imdu, stand right here. Be'eshma, I'm going to hear what Hashem has to say. I have my inner telephone that I call and I get an answer immediately. This is not a call that we can have to put on wait. This is a call which needs an immediate response. And that's what he uses the word imdu. Here is the imdu.
You're supposed to rush to do this stuff. You're not supposed to delay it.
Also that, yeah. But mainly they want to be part of it.
But wasn't Moshe burned in the past when he acted too hastily with regard to the circumcision of the son? He was rushing to go to Egypt and follow God's commands. So if some of his decision making was questioned by God or was punished by God, sure, you sit and wait. You let God give the answer. You don't you go out on the limb and saw off the branch.
It's hard to compare all stories one to another. Each story has its own insight why it happened in that manner it happened. But, to delay circumcision, Moshe also had an excuse. He wasn't just delaying it. He wanted to make sure that he's getting the Jews out as quick as possible.
That's what
So he's instead of waiting for his son to recover, he's going to go straight there to Mitzrayim. It's hard to compare all stories together, but I think this sounds pretty clear, maybe even crystal clear, to distinguish between the story of our week's Parsha, the story of the second Pesach, where the urgency is to be appreciated and to be responding to, than the other stories which not urgent. It's not urgent either because it's technically not urgent, like the story of the five, or it's not urgent because why should we have a Jew die so quick? Let him live another. I once read a story, an interesting story. There were two great rabbis, lived, both actually passed away just before the Second World War began. One was the great rabbi of Vilna, known as Reb Chaim Oizer Rudzinski. He was a very famous, he was like, in America, with Moshe Feinstein, the great halachic authority. He was the halachic authority in his days. He was the Rav in Vilna, but he was also an activist of many areas and situations, which, he was sent questions from all over the world. I have his book in my house. It's called Achiezer. And he asked questions there from South Africa, Jewish community in South Africa, questions about divorce, questions about marriage. So he was like an halachic, more like a international halachic authority. But he was a Litvak, wasn't a Chassid. He was very close with the Rebbe, especially he was close with the Lubavitcher Rebbe, the Rebbe Rashab, the previous Rebbe. They were doing a lot of things together, especially on behalf of the Jews in Russia, those days in the 30s and the 20s. He met with a Hasidic Rebbe of Poland. He was known as the Rebbe of Ostrovca. Ostrovca is a city in Poland. That Rebbe was actually a very, very sharp man. He wrote a book. Which was on the Chumash, a lot of calculations. Like he calculates how much manna was in the desert. He has all kinds of numbers, mathematical. I don't understand the word he's writing. They say that he could have calculated how many lies were actually in Egypt, based on certain Gemaras that there are a lies has this type of measurement. Don't ask. He was a genius. He was a big tzaddik. He actually fasted many years because he foresaw there's going to be a Holocaust. And he held himself back from eating and drinking. He kept himself very abstained from worldly pleasures. In prayer, God should protect the Jewish people. These two rabbis met. Reb Chaim Oizer met with the Rebbe of Ostrovca. They spoke in learning, and Chaim Oizer was very impressed. And he said, whoa, he used the Aramaic expression, Gavra Rabba. Gavra Rabba in Aramaic means, what a great man. So the Rebbe of Ostrovca told him, that's not the definition of a great man, the one who has knowledge in Torah. I will tell you what a great man is. And he told him as follows. The Talmud teaches us a tractate of Makot. Makot is a tractate of Talmud which deals with the idea of lashes, various lashes that one is being given for the various sins. There is a whole list, the whole chapter, the third chapter of Masechet Makot is divided into two parts. Come in, Tzaddik. I'm still in the Parsha class today.
Okay.
Sit down.
Even better.
So he says, you're going to be here today. We started late with Shiva family sitting Shiva. So we started the Parsha class late, and we're not going to have a Gemara class, we'll have the whole year. But you sit with us.
Yeah.
So here, put the telephone of the Chumash. Oh, that's very good. So he said that the Gemara says in Makot, the Gemara talks about the different lashes, different scenes which you get lashed for, and also what's the order of lashing. Very interesting Talmudic discussion, about 5-6 pages. How do you lash? How do you make sure that the person is able to handle it? Because you're not supposed to have a person die while getting lashes. And there's a lot of details in this lashing system. Actually, my son is learned that this year in school. That was the Gemara he was learning by his teacher. But the Gemara says like this: how foolish are the Babylonians that they stand up for the Torah when the Torah is coming out of the ark, and they do not stand up for a great man, for a Gavre Rabbah, referring to a Torah scholar. And the Gemara explains why is it considered foolish? Obviously, the Torah is more important than the one who studies Torah, right? That's the Torah itself. Says the Gemara, no. The Torah tells us in the book of Deuteronomy that what is the number of lashes that one can get? What is the maximum number of lashes? 40. What is halachically, traditionally, the maximum number of lashes? 39. So the Torah tells you 40, and the rabbis apparently diminished, reduced one lash. So who is greater, the rabbis or the Torah? So the Talmud says that obviously the rabbis are greater than Torah, because the rabbis come and the Torah says 40, they say 39, the ruling stays 39. And this is what the Gemara calls Gavre Rabbah, the great man. So this rabbi asked a question. There is yet another place which the Torah gives us one number, and practically speaking, based on the tradition, we are using a different number. What is that? Which mitzvah? Counting of the Omer. The Torah said you should count how many days?
49.
No.
50.
You should count 50 days.
50 of this.
50 days they should. But what does the Torah say in the verse?
7 full weeks.
Tisperu chamishim yom. If you look in the verse, it says clearly you should count chamishim. Chamishim is what? Chamishim means 50. Look on chapter 23, verse 16. Ad b'macharat Shabbat Shvi'it, until the 7th week, tisperu chamishim yom. We should count 50 days. We don't count 50 days. We count 59 days, 49 days, and the 50th becomes Shavuot. So the Ostrovster asked the following: if the Talmud wants to prove that the rabbis are so great that if we stand up to the Torah, we should for sure stand up for them, why do you bring in me a proof from the fact that they reduced 50 lashes to 49 to 39? You could have used the same proof that they reduced 50 days of counting to 49. And he answered, Talmud wants to teach us what is a great man. Who is the real great man? The one who can reduce one lash from another Jew. If you can take off one bidding from a Yid, then you are the Gavre Rabbah, then you are the great man, then you are the person who we should stand up for you. This is the greatness. We never rushed to hit another Jew. Even if God tells you to do it, you don't rush to do it. Yes, we have a concept of Zrizin Magdimin LeMitzvah, that when you are pious, when you are hastened to do a mitzvah, that shows that you are really interested, and God considers that a great value, that you are rushing to do a mitzvah. It's true. But depends which mitzvah. Imagine in some communities we can see it. Me, Baruch Hashem, a very loving community, everybody in the tzaddik. But in some communities you can see the difference. If the rabbi says, we gotta go give food to this and this person. Everybody runs, but there's the one person who is still always first. The rabbi said we have to go demonstrate against this person. It's not behaving honestly. Everybody goes, the rabbi said, but there's the one person who's always there first. He likes to demonstrate. That is mitzvah, right? We don't rush. We don't rush, even by Pinchas, when he acted zealously. And he killed the Nasi, Zimri ben Solu, the leader of a tribe. Everybody else was there, and nobody was rushing. He was the one. Why was nobody rushing? Because you have to be careful when it comes to hitting someone and to beating someone. Even apparently you are sent by God and there's a mission, don't rush. Avram Avinu was forced to take his son to the Akedah. It took him
3 days.
3 days. I'm not rushing.
Jonah.
Yonah, exactly. I'm not rushing. I'm not going to be the bearer of bad news that your city is going to be turned over. I'm not. He especially was concerned that, that it's going to become like a, it's going to be a bad statement about the Jewish people that the other Gentiles heard his voice, Jewish don't hear his voice. They actually say, there's a Hasidic saying that says, actually coming from Shavuot, it's a good word. They say, how come God was looking, it says in the Midrash that God was looking, which mountain can I give the Torah? And there are certain verses in Tehillim which indicate, the Midrash talks about it, that the mountains were kind of competing with each other. Mount Rainier says, put it on me. Mount Tabor said, put it on me. Certain mountains came and brag themselves and pride themselves that they should be they are valid candidates for the Torah to be given on them. God choose side. So there's a question which is being asked, what's with Mount Moriah? That's a qualified mountain. That's where the future temple is going to stand. Matter of fact, the Rambam writes that Adam, when he offered a sacrifice, which is said in the Torah, that Adam offered a sacrifice, it was a Mount Moriah where the future altar is going to stand. Noah, when he came out of the ark, he offered a sacrifice. There was also a Mount Moriah. The boat could have landed in Azerbaijan or wherever place they think it is, but in Turkey or whatever it is, Ararat, yeah, exactly the question, exactly where Ararat, but the Korban was offered on Temple Mount. Why are you looking for a mountain? Bring them all to Israel. Mount Moriah is a perfectly good mountain with so much history already. And let that Torah be given in the same place where the temple is going to build. There's a Hasidic answer. It's called an answer with a twist. The Hasidic answer is, all what happened on Mount Moriah? The binding of Isaac.
What?
Akedat Yitzchak. A mountain which allowed himself to be a place for a Jew to potentially be slaughtered is not a mountain that the Torah is going to be given. That's not a mountain that the Torah is going to be given us.
Makes sense.
Torah is Torah, Shalom, peace, unity, life, Orech Yamenu, length of our life. Even though Yitzchak was never slaughtered, but he was positioned to be slaughtered. He was displayed to be slaughtered. So that is not a place to have the Torah being given. Matter of fact, even when Moses passed away, who became his successor? Yeshua. Pinchas was still alive. Why couldn't Pinchas become, right? He was given priesthood and he was given all this great reward. Why wasn't he the successor? The answer is he acted zealous. The end, a Jew died in his hand. You know, halachically, according to Jewish law, if you kill a person, even by mistake, I know a Kohen who was involved in a car accident, and he doesn't go up to say the priestly blessing. There's all kinds of questions about soldiers who are fighting in the IDF, are dealing with this issue. And there's all kinds of explanations. The time of war might be different, and this and that, because nefesh, saving lives. But taking away the life of a human being is, even when it's required, it's the last thing on your agenda.
That's what King David came to the temple.
Exactly. When King David was purchasing the land, he bought the real estate for the temple from Aravna the Yevusiite. Right? It was a threshing floor for grain. And he bought it from Aravna. And when they came to build the actual temple, God says it's going to have to be done by your son, Shlomo, King Solomon. Yedeichem damim meleu. Your hands are very bloody. Now, it wasn't bloody because it was having fun killing people. All this fight for mitzvah fights, it was on behalf of the Jewish people. It was to protect the land of Israel. But ultimately, it was bloody, you know.
What about Moses and Aaron? Were they instruments of God with regards to the plagues and the killing of the Egyptians and the firstborn?
First of all, they didn't kill by hand.
Well, of course. But
And there was clear orders. There was a clear order for, to get rid of the Egyptians. And you know what?
you get to the problem.
Moses never came to the promised land. And Aaron didn't. Maybe that's who knows. Maybe that's part of it. It's very important to always know and to differentiate. Even it's all mitzvahs and it's all good deeds, and we have to follow. Got to be careful. You know, we have to make sure that it comes from a pure place, especially when it comes to acts of zealousness. Zealousness is very dangerous. It's a big mitzvah. God is very upset when people don't stand up for him. But the reason that we cannot be zealous is mainly because we have our own baggage. And if you're so zealous, how? Who were you last night? You know, what are you coming and screaming at me? Be careful. So, and if you're not careful, then you're making the issue even worse. But to be zealous is a very, very sensitive. The sign of a proper zealous action is when the person is also very known for his goodness and kindness. I will give you an example. I had a grandfather. He was called Kanai. He was called, even on his tombstone, it says that he was a zealous person. His name was Amram Blo. He was mobilizing demonstrations in Jerusalem against cars who are driving on Shabbos to close down the streets. Famous story that everybody knows in Israel is that there was a theater who was open and selling tickets on Shabbos afternoon. He went over to the window, he put his head into the window and held himself together, and they were bidding him to, and he did not move until 3 stars came out and Shabbos was over. He was sitting in jail many times by the Zionists and before that by the English, because he had a vision that the Jews are going to come to Israel. Is going to be a religious country, an observant country, and he couldn't believe that he actually coming to Israel and it's ready to be a secular country. Like, this is God's land. This has to be with extra proper behavior. But at the same time, he was the ultimate kind person. His house was open door with the type of guest that nobody else wants to have in their house or in his house. Taking care of them, feeding them, taking them home. There's so many great stories. I just read a story. I heard from my mother, but I just read an article of Shavuot, and he was mentioned that story. The article was not written by his colleague or by his family, but apparently it was a famous story, people who witnessed it. There was an article now in a paper in Israel, and I got the section, somebody sent it to me, who spoke about the milkman. I mentioned the Shabbos. Milkmen is people who were receiving the milk from the farms, and people did not have refrigerators. So every morning they used to come and deliver them the milk. One morning, my Zayda used to get up early. This great zealous individual goes to shul, and he sees the milkman, which he knew that this milkman just got married last night. But he's ready dressed with his milkman's clothes and is ready to distribute the milk. He said, "What are you doing? You were just married last night." So what should I do? I got to take care. He was an orphan. He helped support his mother and her family. Now he's married. I said, I can't avoid working. I need to bring parnasa. So my grandfather told him, listen, your husband got married, you can't go to work. Tell me how much you make in these 7 days. I will give you the money for 7 days. Whatever you make in 7 days, I will arrange it for you. You go back to your wife. So the milkman said, by the way, I knew this milkman, Reb Noach Levi, Reb Noach Klepper. So this milkman said to me later, money alone is not going to help me because I have customers. And in 7 days, someone else is going to get them as customers, and then I lost them forever. It's not just the money, it's also keeping the clientele. My dad said, listen, here, take off your clothes, take off your milkman jacket, give me the horse and buggy. I am going to deliver the milk. For the next 7 days, he became the delivery man of the milk on behalf of this Noach. So what was he? Was he zealous? Was he Kayan? Was he maybe, as they call it today, schizophrenic? He doesn't know if he's Kayan or not. What was he? He was the real zealousness is a Torah command. You have to do it, but as long as it's motivated with love and care, and the people feel. At my grandfather's funeral, and during the Shiva, can imagine how many secular people, policemen, came. They were sitting there and crying like babies. How much they loved Amram. Women didn't love them. You beat them. You took them to jail. They had to do their job. Felt he did his job, but ultimately they felt that this is a person who cares for them, who cares for the country. He means that seriously. He's not trying to express his frustration. Sometimes zealousness is an expression of personal frustration. You can't pay your mortgage. You were fighting with your husband, with your wife. So what do? You're going to scream on somebody's Judaism or somebody's.
They kick the dog.
They kick the dog. Exactly. So anyway, for that you don't rush. Moshe did not rush to figure out what to do with those people. Where do you rush? Where do you rush even if you're not ready? Where do you say those words? Imdu ve'ashno, stand right here. If somebody wants to do a mitzvah, somebody wants to be part of Pesach, somebody wants to be, and he feels that he's lacking. So that's the story. They came back with great news. What was the great news Moshe came back? Second Pesach. The whole second Pesach was invented by people. They brought it up. If not for their request, their sincere request, would have never had a second Pesach. This is the kind of answer you get when you are sincere. Imagine if we would sincerely, the Rabbi used to say, if we would sincerely ask for Mashiach, Mashiach would have been here already. Must be there's a lack of sincerity. Because Pesach Sheni we got, so why can't we get Mashiach? We want Mashiach, but we also want to have a pizza later, steak, a car, a dog should be happy, the wife should be happy, the husband should be happy. Anyway, Thank you very much. Laila Tov. Enjoy the rest of the week. We'll see you with Shabbat Shabbos. Toda Rabba. And next week will be again at 7:30, okay? Bezrat Hashem. Hopefully no shivas in the community.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.